Four men attacked a billionaire CEO, but the waiter's single dad's hidden skill changed everything. Sometimes, kindness shows up in the most unexpected moments. Not as a big speech or a public act, but as a quiet choice made in seconds, one that can change many lives forever. This is one of those stories. A night that began with fear and violence, and ended with hope, gratitude, and a reminder that even ordinary people carry extraordinary power within them. Before we begin, if you enjoy emotional, real-life inspired stories like this, please take a moment to subscribe, like, and comment below. Your support helps our channel, Heartfelt Moments, continue sharing stories that touch the heart and remind us of the power of kindness. Now, let's begin. On a cold Friday night in downtown Chicago, a quiet restaurant was nearing closing time. The lights were soft, the music low, and only a few tables were still occupied. One of them sat near the window, a middle-aged man in a simple dark coat, eating alone. Most people would never guess that he was one of the richest CEOs in the country, a billionaire who usually moved with security and luxury. That night, he wanted something different. Peace. Normalcy. Just a quiet meal like everyone else. His waiter was a man named Daniel. Daniel was in his late 30s, tired but kind-eyed. He was a single father raising a 10-year-old daughter on his own. Every shift mattered to him. Every tip meant groceries, school supplies, and a better future for his little girl. Despite the long hours, Daniel treated every customer with patience and warmth. He believed kindness cost nothing, but it could mean everything. As Daniel refilled the man's coffee, he noticed something off. 4 men had just entered the restaurant. They were loud, restless, and scanning the room instead of looking at the menu. Daniel's stomach tightened. Years ago, before life forced him into responsibility, he had seen this kind of behavior before. Trouble. The billionaire CEO noticed it too. He stiffened in his seat, eyes following the men through the reflection of the window. Without his usual protection, he suddenly felt exposed. Vulnerable. The 4 men spread out, pretending to take seats. Then, in a flash, one of them pulled out a weapon and pointed it toward the CEO. "Don't move," he said quietly, but with menace. The restaurant froze. A woman gasped. A glass shattered as it slipped from someone's hand. The CEO's heart pounded. He realized, in that terrifying moment, that all the money in the world meant nothing if you didn't survive the night. Daniel stood behind the counter, his hands shaking, but his mind was clear. You see, Daniel had a hidden skill. In his early 20s, before becoming a father, he had trained in martial arts and conflict de-escalation. Not for violence, but for control, awareness, and protection. Life had taken him in a different direction, but those lessons never left him. Still, Daniel didn't rush forward. Instead, he did something unexpected. He stepped out slowly, raising his hand slightly, and spoke calmly. "Hey, guys," he said. "No need for this. Let's talk." The men laughed. "This doesn't concern you, waiter," one of them snapped. But Daniel didn't back away. He took another step, keeping his voice steady. "It concerns everyone in this room," he said. "Including you." His calm presence disrupted the tension. One of the men hesitated. Another tightened his grip on the weapon. Daniel continued, choosing kindness over fear. "I've got a kid at home," he said softly. "I'm sure someone out there cares about you too. Whatever you're planning, it's not worth the damage it'll cause." For a split second, the room was silent. Then chaos broke loose. One of the attackers lunged toward the CEO. In that instant, Daniel moved. His actions were fast but controlled. He disarmed one man, used the environment around him, and positioned himself between the attackers and the civilians. He didn't strike out of anger. He acted with precision, protecting rather than punishing. Within moments that felt like hours, the police arrived, alerted by a customer who had quietly called 911. The 4 men were arrested. The restaurant was safe. Daniel stood there, breathing hard, his hands trembling, not from fear anymore, but from relief. His first thought wasn't about praise or reward. It was about his daughter. The CEO approached him slowly, eyes filled with disbelief and gratitude. "You saved my life," he said. Daniel shook his head. "I just did what was right." In the days that followed, the story made headlines. But what stood out wasn't the attack, it was the waiter. A single dad. A man who chose kindness and courage over panic. The CEO asked to meet Daniel privately. When they sat down, the billionaire didn't talk about money first. He asked about Daniel's life. His daughter. His struggles. His dreams. Then he made an offer that changed everything. He paid off Daniel's debts, funded his daughter's education, and offered Daniel a position within his company, not as a favor, but as recognition of character. "Skills can be taught," the CEO said. "But integrity like yours is rare." Daniel accepted, not because of the wealth, but because it meant security, stability, and time with his child. Years later, Daniel still tells his daughter the same lesson. "Kindness isn't weakness," he says. "It's strength under control." That night could have ended in tragedy. Instead, it became a turning point, because one ordinary man chose compassion, courage, and humanity when it mattered most. And maybe that's the real message of this story. You never know when your kindness, your patience, or your quiet strength will change someone else's life. You don't have to be rich or powerful to make a difference. Sometimes, all it takes is one good heart, one brave moment, and the willingness to care. If this story inspired you, carry it forward. Be kind when it's hard. Be brave when it matters. And remember, your actions, no matter how small they seem, can change everything.